Far-right, anti-fascist groups clash in Ottawa, Quebec amid surge of asylum seekers. Anti-immigrant groups were met with counter-protestors as they rallied along the Canadian side of the US border and in Ottawa on Saturday amid a surge of irregular border crossings by asylum seekers. On Parliament Hill, protesters aligned with a group called the Canadian Coalition of Concerned Citizens, CCCC, assembled to stand against policies of the federal Liberal government they claim have allowed illegal immigration to flourish. Amid cries of fascist scum go away, a lone member of the group was involved in a skirmish with members of the anti-fascist, or antifa, movement, before being led away by parliamentary police. RCMP officers dressed in riot gear streamed onto the hill after another brief scuffle between the two groups broke out. Police formed a protective line down the middle to prevent further physical encounters amid a standoff. Meanwhile, roughly 100 members of the Storm Alliance, a group that identifies as ultranationalist and claims to eschew ties to far-right white nationalists, arrived at a border crossing near St. Bernard-de-Lacal, Quebec, where thousands of migrants have crossed into the country on foot without proper documentation. La Meute, French for the Wolf Pack, another anti-immigrant, anti-Islam group, was also on hand at the border town Saturday. Busloads of hundreds of Antifa counter-protesters, from the group Solidarity Across Borders, left Montreal early Saturday to confront those associated with Storm Alliance and La Meute at the border. Members of the provincial police, Charte du Québec, formed a perimeter to keep the two forces roughly 40 meters apart. Sharia top of mind with far-right protesters. Georges Horlock, the founder of the CCCC, himself an immigrant from Lebanon, was at the Ottawa protest. He told CBC News he is concerned Muslims will impose Sharia, the Islamic religious guidelines that govern everything from personal hygiene and charity to pilgrimages and burials, on Canada. Horlock, a self-described Christian patriot, said he is steadfastly opposed to M103, a non-binding, Liberal-sponsored motion that passed the House of Commons in the spring, which condemned Islamophobia. Horlock fears its passage will limit free speech and criticism of Islam. He also said Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has failed to secure the Canada-US border while allowing mayors to declare cities sanctuaries, which he said shield undocumented migrants from law enforcement. I respect immigration 100%, as long as the people coming to this country do not have criminal records, do not pose a threat to normal Canadians, that they come here with the intent to follow the laws of Canada without trying to modify it for their needs. We are talking about Sharia law, which goes against the Constitution of Canada, he said. The group was vastly outnumbered by a group of counter-protesters aligned with the Antifa movement, people who claim to support migrants and oppose racism. Many of them held placards with slogans such as "No to hate speech" and "Unite to fight right." An organizer with Ottawa Against Fascism, who would only identify himself as Robin for fear of online reprisal from the far-right, said these groups are sugarcoating the anti-immigrant movement by insisting their actions are not racially motivated. These groups are scary, they mask their anti-immigrant sentiments, but underneath all of that they support genocide. These forms of scapegoating can escalate and become something that is genuinely dangerous. Far-right, Antifa protesters expected to clash at border. According to federal officials, some 13,000 asylum seekers have entered Canada irregularly, with many of those people crossing over from New York State into Quebec at a single point of entry at the end of Roxham Road in Hemmingford, Q, not far from Lacal. Storm Alliance was created by people formerly aligned with the Soldiers of Odin, a group founded in Finland by a known neo-Nazi, which is highly critical of Islam and the tenets of Sharia. Dave Treggett, the founder and leader of Storm Alliance, has said he left Soldiers of Odin because of its overt racism. Unlike Storm Alliance, many members of La Meute are Quebec sovereigntists, but they too are fearful Muslims will demand the imposition of Sharia in Canada. Some of its supporters were seen flying the Patriots' flag Saturday, an ode to the Lower Canada rebellions of 1837–38 when French-speaking settlers from present-day Quebec fought against British colonial rule. In August, a protest in Quebec City turned violent after Antifa protesters attacked a man with alleged ties to La Meute. He was seen carrying the Patriot flag, alongside the provincial fleur-de-lis.